Hi, welcome to QC Crime Watch. I'm Linda Cook.
And I'm Sharon Wren.
And today we're going to talk about crimes that have occurred in the last few days or sentencings that have occurred in the last few days. Sharon and I want to remind you that neither one of us is an attorney, so because of conflicts of interest, we cannot recommend attorneys for you. So with that, we both have several things to talk about today. Mine is quite honestly unpleasant, and I do want to say that if you intend to follow this story and listen to this clear through, this is disturbing and it may be very upsetting to people. It does involve the death of animals and animal torture, which is something, thank goodness, we don't write about very often. Right. So with that, again, some of the contents of this are very disturbing. 2 of 4 kittens survived Monday after an 18-year-old Davenport man was accused of animal torture. This is according to Scott County court records and the executive director of the Humane Society of Scott County, whose name is Erica. Eric Childs Jr. faces 4 aggravated misdemeanor charges of animal torture, first offense, after an incident about 3 p.m. Sunday. Davenport police responded to Sylvan Court in reference to 4 kittens being tortured. Childs was captured on video throwing a white cloth bag with 4 kittens inside into a tree. That caused the kittens to fall about 8 to 10 feet. He willfully inflicted severe pain by throwing the kittens into a tree and falling 8 to 10 feet. This caused prolonged suffering. 2 of the kittens are gone. Erica Gunn, the executive director for the Humane Society of Scott County, sent me a photo of the 2 surviving kittens, and she said that one is doing very well. The other one is having a little trouble eating on its own. The kittens are together. They're in a veterinary hospital partner of the Humane Society. The other kitten's condition, she said, besides the one that's having trouble eating, is touch and go. Now, the kittens who did not survive will be x-rayed. Why? Because this will provide law enforcement the evidence they need, maybe some of the evidence they need to prosecute this case.
Because they don't do a traditional autopsy,
right?
Like they would with a human.
Right. And this isn't even a necropsy. A necropsy is for an animal. But this is just an x-ray to show what happened to these little animals. So these kittens are about 5 weeks old, and when they're well enough and when they're big enough, they will be up for adoption. According to a Monday, July 21st order from Scott County Court, Childs qualifies for a court-appointed attorney, and we've talked about this before, but there are no attorneys available as the state public defender has not coordinated any attorneys to accept such appointments. The request for a court-appointed attorney will be fulfilled as soon as an attorney becomes available. Childs was released on a $5,000 bond. He's scheduled for a preliminary hearing in Scott County Court on July 31st, and we do plan to either be there in court or follow this up.
I can't say a whole lot because
you can't.
No, because
well,
it
neither
violates broadcast
can.
Standards.
It's very, very sad all the way around.
Very upsetting for animal lovers. Okay.
You have something a little bit different than this.
Well, it's not. I don't want to say there's a viewer advisory involved, but you may need a scorecard to keep track. A man from Davenport was arrested last week after police say he tried to enter several different homes on the same night. According to the criminal complaints, of which there were 7 of them, and some of the criminal complaints had multiple paperwork, so putting this story together was great fun. So, according to the complaints, the defendant, identified as 25-year-old Jordan Sprott, is accused of, in these incidents that all happened on July 17th. Okay, 1:36 in the morning, Davenport police were called to the 2600 block of Fairhaven for report of a residential burglary. Mr. Sprott is accused of entering the home, which was occupied at the time, with the intent of committing a theft. A resident encountered Mr. Sprott, who fled on foot, and no one was injured. So about an hour and a half later, at 3:07 a.m., police responded to the 900 block of Mississippi Avenue regarding a residential burglary. Mr. Sprott allegedly entered the home, which was occupied by the homeowners at the time, with the intention of committing theft. He was positively identified through one of those security camera doorbell things. So, a mere 11 minutes later, at 3:18, police responded to the 1000 block of Mississippi Avenue for a report of an attempted residential burglary. He left the first address where the people were home, went to another one. That was also occupied. He couldn't get in, so he left. He was also positively identified through a doorbell cam. He took a couple hours off, allegedly, and then at 5:29, Davenport police responded to the 2700 block of Fairhaven regarding a residential burglary. He's accused of breaking a screen to a side garage window to enter the home's garage, which was apparently attached because then he could enter the main house. The complaints say Sprott stole a wallet belonging to the victim containing his driver's license, credit cards, and various amounts of currency. Detectives conducted a follow-up in the 400 block of LeClaire Street, where surveillance footage showed Mr. Sprott with the wallet discarding the license and the credit cards and things and just keeping the money. And he deposited the rest near a dumpster. So at about 6 a.m., the police responded to the 2600 block of Fairhaven for another attempted burglary. He was trying to enter a house that was occupied by the homeowners and two small children.
Oh, boy.
At the time, he was unable to get in, left, everybody's fine, but once again, the doorbell cam caught him. So, and we don't have times for a couple of these incidents, but two homes in the 800 block of College Avenue and one in the 1200 block of River Drive were also burglarized same night within a block of the incidents on Mississippi Avenue.
So really, and I think we can sum it up to say this is a neighborhood.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just this whole
He's just working his way through, allegedly working
right.
his way through the neighborhood, trying to see where he could get in. The house on River Drive, one of the homes on College, was occupied at the time. The other house on College wasn't. And then it responded to two addresses in the 2200 block of Fairhaven and one in the 2800 block of Fairhaven in regard to burglaries. Two of the homes were occupied, and surveillance video shows Mr. Sprott wearing the same clothing. He was arrested on July 17th on 6 felony counts of second-degree burglary, 2 misdemeanor counts of attempted second-degree burglary, 3 counts of misdemeanor third-degree burglary, and a misdemeanor count of fifth-degree criminal mischief. At the time of publication, he was being held in the Scott County Jail on a combined secured and cash-only bond of $5,500 and has a preliminary hearing on the 25th.
You know, at the end of these podcasts, we always say lock your car doors, lock your doors.
This is why.
Lock your doors, because you don't know when somebody would take it into their head to be in your neighborhood, right? Not to scare people.
But that's the world we live in.
It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
And, I'm so glad nobody was hurt.
Yes, that must have been very frightening, especially for with the children.
Right.
And they were described as young children, so I'm putting that at under 5.
Ugh.
Okay,
well, I have a little bit different story here. It does involve a little violence, but it was very quick. A 33-year-old Davenport man was in custody over the weekend. Police say that he punched a victim through a car window so hard that the victim required eye surgery afterward. So, a man named Nathan Steen faces felony charges of first-degree burglary and assault causing serious injury. Now, this happened July 6th. A person reported to Davenport police. No, it didn't. I'm sorry. I've got to back up. On July 6th, a person reported to Davenport police that an assault had occurred July 4th, so it's 4th of July,
Okay.
in a driveway on Jevons Avenue, and this is the victim's home.
Right.
The victim said Steen approached the victim, who was seated in this vehicle parked in the
Right.
driveway, and Steen punched the victim multiple times through the victim's open car window. As a result, the victim suffered an eye injury that required surgery and an orbital and nose fracture, and that's in the affidavits. And here's what you and I were talking just now about video surveillance,
Yeah.
right? The actions of Steen were captured on video, affidavits say. So Steen was arrested on a warrant. That's why it happened somewhat after this incident.
Right.
And over the weekend, he was being held in Scott County Court, and he is set for arraignment on August 7th. I'm sorry, he was being held in Scott County Jail and is set for arraignment on August 7th in Scott County Court.
Was there any? They hadn't been arguing.
I don't know.
or
There's
anything?
nothing that says domestic here.
Yeah, it
so
was
I
just
don't, I don't know.
allegedly walked up and
I don't know.
okay,
So if we go to that court hearing, we will probably learn more.
right. Well, we have 3 that are in the works, but we have a case that has been resolved. Well, of course, pending appeal, that's always a thing.
Right.
A jury in Scott County returned verdicts in the trial of a Davenport man who was accused of threatening the victim with a Molotov cocktail in October 2024. The jury found Terrence Burridge, 45, guilty of a count of threat to place explosive or incendiary device, first-degree harassment, and stalking while in possession of a dangerous weapon. He was arrested on a warrant in April of this year after he was accused of repeatedly harassing the victim, causing a disturbance at her job, and sending messages threatening physical harm, including one that said, and this is a quote, having a fire cocktail party. Molotov cocktail. He is scheduled to be sentenced later.
Oh dear. Now,
Yeah.
we hear Molotov cocktail. This is something I heard all the time. I hear it in movies,
Yeah.
TV shows. Sharon, what is a Molotov cocktail, please?
I'm glad you asked me that, Linda. It is a type of improvised incendiary weapon. This is just something you DIY, commonly made from a bottle,
Okay.
like a glass bottle, filled with flammable liquid, gasoline or whatever, fitted with a cloth wick that is lit right before you throw it. And then the glass breaks, the liquid spills, it catches on fire, big mess. They earned their nickname and became widely known during the Winter War of 1939 and 40 between Finland and the Soviet Union.
Oh.
They were not invented by some guy named Molotov.
Right.
The name is a poke at Soviet Foreign Minister Molotov. I'm going to mangle his first name, so I'm not going to do it. During the war, Minister Molotov falsely claimed that the Soviet bombing missions over Finland were actually airborne humanitarian food deliveries. So the Finns began calling Soviet bombs Molotov bread baskets, and then their little bottle bombs were the Molotov cocktails to go with your Molotov food basket. Now the Finnish version, though, they put some work into it. It was a specific mixture of gasoline, ethanol, and tar, so it would stick. In a half-liter bottle, screw cap, and they were so effective in dismantling and disabling Soviet tanks that Finland's state alcohol company began mass producing them.
Wow.
Well, companies do the darndest things for the war effort.
I had no idea where this started.
Honest to Pete,
Thank
I
you.
thought there was a fella named Molotov that came up with them.
Well, there kind of was. It's just not the way
he
you
wasn't
think.
the inventor. He
Yeah.
was just the inspiration for the name. Oh my!
Wow. Okay.
We learned something.
Every now and then, I'll go to an arson scene or cover an arson
Right.
fire, and someone will say a Molotov cocktail may have been involved, and now I know.
Now you know who they're named for and who developed them.
Terrifying. Thank you very much.
But darn, they were effective in the war with the Soviets.
That's right. So let's leave that to war fighters.
Yes,
and,
please.
Yes, and not around here.
Yes, please.
Not to regular residents. This next one, Sharon, is an unusual story, mainly because of the age of the person involved. In 2023, I followed court documents and wrote about a 74-year-old Rock Island man who had been found in a truck parked at a casino. He was asleep and had a loaded gun and meth in the truck.
Okay.
So I followed this, and finally, on July 16, Kip Jones, who is now 76, was sentenced. So I was there in the courtroom, and the attorney, Matt Gannon, was with, of course, the defendant, and Mr. Gannon told the court that Mr. Jones began self-medicating after a forklift accident in 1969 when Jones was about 20 years old. Oh, wow. Later, Mr. Jones turned to drugs to cope with the loss of his son and son-in-law, Mr. Gannon said. Now, the attorney said Jones acknowledges that he has failed to grieve appropriately and found himself grappling with an addiction to painkillers. He also said this is not Kip's first rodeo. But, he added, Mr. Jones has no history of violence. Kip has accepted responsibility for his actions, but that does not excuse his actions. Mr. Gannon said all he plans to do and all he wants to do is spend time with his family. And Jones himself spoke briefly. I'm aware of my actions. I'm sorry to all the people it impacted, friends, family, strangers. So the judge said, our legislature has pretty clearly said that when you have the quantity of meth that you had, you have to go to prison. So Jones pleaded guilty to a charge of intent to deliver meth and possession or control of a firearm by a felon. Now, he was sentenced to 1/3 the mandatory minimum, reduced by 1/2, and then reduced by 1/3, according to a Scott County sentencing order, which says, the court makes no recommendation as to when Mr. Jones shall be released from incarceration, leaving it to the Department of Corrections to determine based upon his progress at the institution. Other charges were dismissed. So I'm going to maybe guess that he's not doing a long time in prison.
You lost me at the fractions.
I know, and that is Iowa law. This is, not a cut and dried sentence, but my best to him and his family, and I hope that he has some years to enjoy them and lead a happy life.
Yep. Oh my, this was a podcast.
This was a podcast. We had some wild times this week. I expect maybe next week with all this heat. Heat seems to bring out the worst in people anyway. So we'll wish you all a safe week and stay hydrated. Keep an eye on your animals and keep things locked.
Lock the doors.